Welcome to Gemara of Talmud Yerushalmi. So people have already probably been on board since the whole entire Seder Zerayim. Congratulations if you made a siyum on the entire Seder Zerayim. Congratulations. That is actually amazing. Now we're going to pick up on Shabbos. Shabbos is the first Masechtos in Moed. Now we're going to have most Masechtos Shabbos, but the last few Parakim is not going to have any Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi on those last Parakim were lost. Again, those who are new and are joining us for Seder Moed in Masechta Shabbos, just a little introduction to Talmud Yerushalmi. It was written mostly in Eretz Yisrael, and almost everyone you're going to find here is going to have a rabbi named to him, because the rabbi named to him is the one who were those living in Eretz Yisrael, the Yishuv of Avnam, and etc., and other places. Also, you're also going to see that it's going to be very, very little Haggadah, very little story. Mostly it's only going to talk about halacha, but some of the daf are going to be much shorter than Bavli. Let's go. It's an unbelievable, great thing to take on. Let's start Masechta Shabbos. Daf Aleph. Daf Aleph, what are you talking about? I've been learning Gemara my whole life, and every single Gemara starts with Daf Beis. Well, Yerushalmi, every single Masechta starts on Daf Aleph. That's Avam and Aleph. So we're talking about here Shabbos. We're going to start off Masechta Shabbos. We're not going to start talking about what Shabbos is, how Shabbos is. We're going to swing right into the swing of things, and we're going to say exactly what Shabbos is, and that is the malacha of switching domains. So how's the Mishnah going to set it up? The Mishnah is going to set it up by saying that there's going to be an ani outside and there's a balabais inside it. I want to let everyone know. Just imagine this, almost nowhere, not even in ancient Yerushalim, was there a place where the house was really on the territory of the border. Really, the houses would have a courtyard. Every little house is a courtyard. Even in Brooklyn, where people are smashed one on top of the other, there are houses that have a little bit of property around them. People live in apartment buildings, okay, so then you're going to have a Rishus HaRabim, or at least a Carmelis, or at least a Chutzer that's going to be shared right outside of the door. That's not going to be a Rishus HaRabim. So it's very, very odd for someone to have a Rishus HaYochid in his house right on the highway, and mamish outside his window is going to be a highway. That really doesn't really happen. So now just imagine, let's say you're in one of those places in upstate New York. Well, not even upstate New York, I guess it would have to be in a city where it's really technically Sharabim, where a lot of people go, because upstate New York it's Carmelis. So we're talking about a city. So let's say we're talking about a person is leaning on the fence of his property. It's really what it is. He's not inside his house. He's on the fence of his property. So he's on the fence of his property, and the ani is coming up to his fence. And he's saying to him, okay, listen, I need some food. I need some bread. So I want to give one other point here is the Mishnah is talking about not Sakon Safashis, obviously, because of the Sakon Safashis, there'll be no issue. I also want to point out the Musar. Musar, there's always Musar that you can learn. There's always lessons you can learn from the Gemara. And this lesson is, why are you not letting the ani in the house? What are you doing? It's Shabbos. Why are you making the ani stick his hands in? Why are you sticking your hands out? Why are you having a fence between you and the ani? You should let the ani into your house, let him eat in your house, and let him go on his way. There should be no reason why he's standing outside and you are still standing inside. Take that as a lesson. So for those who don't do this and will make the ani stand outside and then we'll start touching around with him, at least you're going to give him some food on Shabbos. So this is for you. Yitzias Shabbos, the tradition of going out on Shabbos. So we're not even talking about Yitzias Shabbos. Oftentimes Mishnah says one thing and we're talking about something else. It's not even Yitzia. This is really a switching domains. This is not, of course, carrying in the public, but this is the Yitzia of part of the malacha of carrying in public where you're switching domains. You do not need Arba Amos over here. You just need to switch from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. So Yitzias Shabbos, you're going out on Shabbos. So you can have two people. It takes two people to tango over here. Shtayim Shehein Arba. You're going to have two cases that really are four, and the Gemara is going to talk about what does it mean, Shtayim Shehein Arba? What are we talking over here? There's so many more cases in the Mishnah. Either talking about the cases that are Potter, or the cases that are Mutter, cases that are Chayiv. We will see. So Shtayim Shehein Arba, and also why does it say Shtayim Shehein Arba altogether? Why doesn't it just say these are the cases? Yeah, you have to say Shtayim Shehein Arba. Okay, we're going to learn that in Shabbos, like in other places, there are categories. There are biblical categories, and there are avos, and there are toldos. There are av malachos that are the main part of the malacha, and there's also toldos, which are only Isser D'Rabbanan. Some of them are Isser D'Oraisa, they're derived from the Rabbanan, this should be nicer, but they're not the main part of the category, but they're close enough to the main category. Anyway, we will see that in Shabbos. So here we have two that has really ended up being four. In other words, be very careful. It's in Hazara. It's a warning on Shabbos. You have to be careful. You could be over for Averis if you just think you're doing two small cases. What are they? So we have Stein, Shein, Arba, B'fnim. We have 2 that turns to 4 in the inside. Stein, Shein, Arba, B'chutz, and 2 to 4 going outside. Ketzad, how is this so? So Ketzad, how is it so? Or Ketzad. So now, if you ever wonder what Ketzad stood for, it's Ketzad, which is shortened up in the Bavli as Ketzad. But in the Yerushalmi, it told us what the actual word. So if you want to trick your friends or trick your colleagues and want to have a good trivia question, you tell your colleague, okay, what does Ketzad stand for? He'll be like, what? Ketzad doesn't stand for anything. Ketzad's a word. Oh, no, Ketzad is not a word. Ketzad stands for Ketzad. It ends up being shortened, probably in the vernacular, when it got time to the Bavli, to Ketzad. Like many other words that are contractions, going on. The ani is standing outside again. The balabais is not inviting him in. But the ani is standing outside, the balabais is standing inside. So then we have Pasha the ani as the ani sticks his hand inside over the entire fence. It's fully inside. The Nasam the Yad as balabais, and then he goes and he places his head the balabais. Or he took. Go ahead from the Balabais' hands, and he brought it outside. In other words, the Ani, for some reason, is giving something to the Balabais. I don't know what he's giving to him. I don't know. Maybe he's giving him his address. Maybe he's giving him something that's going on that, to find me after Shabbos, I'll pay for the food or whatever it is. But he sticks it inside to the Shus HaYachin, and he drops it into the hands of the Balabais. Or the Balabais is holding a challah roll. He takes the challah roll out of the Balabais' hands, and then when he takes it outside. So then, ani chayv a balabais is potter. So the ani is chayv, the balabais is potter. Now, usually we say potter aval aser. It's potter for midrabanan, doesn't have to give a chados, but it's aser. It's potter, right? But it's aser midrabanan. Sorry, it's potter from midraisa. Doesn't have to give the chados, but it's aser midrabanan. So over here. Some say that it's actually potter completely mutter, but the bottom line is, how could it be completely mutter when you are basically lifting even l'shita mishal? You are helping the ani do a malacha. If he's going to go and help do a malacha, you are not doing that malacha. So via the Shabbos, you are not chayiv. However, you are helping the ani do an av malacha, and in that situation, so then you should be chayiv at least for, let's say, even l'shita mishal. You should not put a stomach block before someone else. And if you want to say that when you're helping the ani, you're giving the ani some food or something, first of all, I don't understand how you're giving the ani food when he's actually placing something in your hand, so that's not helping him. And maybe he's giving a dress, so you can give a check at the Shabbos, maybe, okay, but the bottom line is you should invite him in. That would have saved you a lot of headaches. Pashat Balabais, that's the other lachutz, but if the Balabais sticks his hand out, that he's more proactive, and he places something, he places something in the hand of the ani, so he takes something out of the hand of the ani, and he brings it inside. Balabais, ani pater, avi. So it's so obvious. Why is the Mishnah to tell us? Okay, the Mishnah tells us both situations, but obviously, if one way is going to be pater and usher, the other way is going to be also chayev and potter. So pasha the ani as yadin lefnim, but if the poor person extends it inside, but not the balabais, but the balabais is the one that took the thing out of the hand, or the balabais places it into the poor man's hand, and the poor man then takes it out. Shnei and Ptur, both of them are potter aval aser. After Barabanan, Potter Verchatos, Pashat Balabayas as Yoda Lachutz, if the Balabayas extends the hand outside, and Vinatal Ani Matoicha, within the Ani puts something into his hand, or the poor man placed his hands into the Balabayas' hands, and then he brought it in. So then Shnei and Ptur both on Potter because they don't do the full action. The ani is taking it out of the hand that's already extended outside, or the ani is placing it into a hand that's going to be then extended inside. So then both of those cases are putter. They're all putter for chatas. However, they are chayev midor raisa. So again, now the Gemara is going to say, what does it mean going out on Shabbos, and what does it mean that the two cases turned to four? So if he's a Shabbos, these are the ways that to go out on Shabbos, going from Rishus to Rishus. So what does it mean exactly that two come into four? So l'chiyuv Ushnayim lepater. So is it for chiyav or lepater? I arba lechiyav, arba lepater. But then you really have 4 that are chayiv and 4 that are pater. If you count our butters, you count the rices. You have 4 that are chayiv, 4 that are pater. So what is it talking about? So the Mishana min hada, learn over here where we learn from Shavuos Shnayim Shen Arba. In Shavuos, you also have 2 categories of Shavuos, end up being 4 categories of chiyav. 4 types of Shavuos for chiyav. So Amar Rabba says Tama Kulo L'chiyav. So therefore, we're only talking about cases where it comes chiyav. All the cases that says pater, we're not going to count it, and therefore, even though you only have 16 cases here in the Mishnah, really you could have 8 and 8. So really, you only have 2 or 4. The finim 2 or 4 outside that end up being in chiyav of some sort of chiyav. So Bram Hacham here, whoever chiyav or pater as the here that teaches us both the chiyav and the ptur. So I know it's only shnayim and they're going to 4, but then why does it keep going and telling us all the ptur also? It should stop by the chiyav. If you want to the chiyav, it should stop by the chiyav, and it should be the total of 8. Instead, it goes to a total of 16, when it teaches us the ptur also. So Hada Amar. So this informs us Arba L'chiyav, Arba L'pater. So each one has 4 of chiyav and 4 of a pater, and therefore Shnayim Shen Arba really is only the chiyav. But you should just also know that all the 4 of chiyav also have 4 of pater. So Amar V'Yesharosh, he says Maslisan Amar Kain. The Mishnah itself is telling that Shavuos Shnayim Shein Arba. When it says that 2 in the Mishnah about Shavuos, it says that oaths are 2 and they're really 4. Lo chayiv, is it not really about the chiyav? The Kabbah says is Shabbos Shnayim Shein Arba. Similarly, when it's talking about Shabbos, when it says that 2 come to 4, it's only talking about the chiyav. So therefore, it goes to the Rambam. We're talking about the chiyav. The fact that the Mishnah goes ahead and tells us more about Pturin just teaches us extra things, but it's not part of the Shnayim Shein Arba. Obviously, the Mishnah is going with Shnai Shnai Arba, so that's the whole point. The point is the Mishnah is saying there's many, many thousands of cases. However, let me teach you that there is a problem with chiyav. Before we mentioned that the Mishnah is talking about Hazara, it's going to be a warning. 2 could turn into 4, so very easily it could turn into something that you think is going to be pater or mutter and turns into chiyav, and you're chayiv. So therefore, that's what the Mishnah is saying us. So therefore, Yosi and Rabbah is both telling us that the chiyav is what's being focused on in the Mishnah, and therefore the Shnayim Shen Arba is talking about chayiv because really it's an azara. The fact that we have pater also fine, so you can all day long do things that are pater. The Mishnah is not here to teach you how you get around laws of Shabbos. The Mishnah is trying to teach you to be careful not to violate the laws of Shabbos. V'hatani, but we learned in a brisa that last law is hechalo shnayim shein arba, that the doors of the Beis Hamikdash there were 2 and there were 4. So isla l'meimer l'chiv l'pater. Is it possible to talk about that the doors of the Mishkan, the doors of the Beis Hamikdash, that they were going to have 2 turns to 4? That's usher or chiyav or pater? Of course not. There's no chiyav or pater. It's just a category. So why is it saying over here that is going to the category? So it must be that 2 or 4 is going again back to the Av of the category, taking a mainstay of the category and then taking 2 main disciples of it, 2 toldos. So 2 here also. So therefore, so Nisnei Shnayim Aser Pater. So why doesn't the Mishnah just teach us that the Shnayim Aser, that 12 places are Pater? Why does it say that Shnayim Shnayim Arba and there's also 12 places that's going to be Pater? Right? Why doesn't the Mishnah say that? So the Mishnah comes to teach us only in the case of exemption that parallels the case of chiyav. So in other words, all these cases of pater are really only going to reflect the cases that are chayiv. So I mentioned them. You mentioned them the fact that because we're already mentioning the chiyav, so therefore it's going to say let's talk about the pater. So again. So we have the 2 that comes 4 is really categories of chiyav, and the reason why it's very similar to the doors of the Beis Hamikdash is because even though they don't carry any offerings on them, the bottom line is it's 2 main doors that turn into 4 small doors, so 2 main chiyavs turn into other chiyavs, and that's the lesson over here. Why doesn't the Mishnah talk about that? By the way, let's count the amount of Pturim there are, because the pater is only agav the fact that we talked about the chiyav. Since it's talking about the chiyav, therefore we're talking about the pater also. But the main say is, again, Azar, the Mishnah is trying to teach us, don't be Mechal Shabbos. Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Rav Chia says Rav Abba, Mahu Hadar Pater San Yacha. What is the exemption that the Mishnah taught us over here, right? It says, so what type of pater is it? Mutter. So it's an exemption that is permitted. It's permitted, that's completely permitted. that changes to people, two domains of Shabbos. Only 4 such permitted acts are possible. Therefore, the Mishnah lists only four that are actually mutter, that are not going to violate any orders of Shabbos. That is Daf Aleph.